Hello and welcome to Tomorrow is Yesterday, the show where we review every episode of Star Trek in production order. My name is Brandon Couch, and with me, I can't say as always anymore, David Moss.
Wow, you didn't say introduce yourself?
David,
Ooh.
I've been introducing you for a while now.
What?
I know you've been gone a long time and you forgot how we did this, but I've been introducing you for a while.
No.
Yeah?
Last episode you said introduce yourself.
Yeah, because you wanted to make a joke.
And then the episode before that you said introduce yourself.
I don't think I did.
Yeah, let's roll it back. Let's roll back that footage and see. I had a whole joke. I had a whole deal planned out. I was like, my name is BB-8, and
Wrong franchise.
then I was gonna start going beep 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 beep.
That's a terrible BB-8.
Yeah, I know, but it's all I could come up with in like 30 seconds. All right, let's start this.
You're not going to derail the podcast like you usually do?
No.
Okay. Oh, before we start, check out our Instagram at Tomorrow Trek Pod. We have 115 followers over there. Why aren't 115 of you listening? If you like this podcast, want to keep going, get the word out. Say, hey, you like Star Trek? Listen to this podcast. That's the spotlight this week.
Whoop, whoop.
All right. So you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. The Menagerie Part 2 first aired on November 24th, 1966. Won the 1967 Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation. Was written by Gene Roddenberry and directed by Robert Butler. Robert Butler directed all the Cage stuff. Not the new stuff.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
Okay. Just to be crystal clear.
Crystal clear. And also, I said this in the last episode, but if you want a more in-depth talk about like the footage from the Cage, go back and listen to our first episode. Keep in mind though, it was our first episode. Go easy on us.
Apparently we were going easy on each other then.
If you want to know what he's talking about there, listen to our mic check on Patreon. All right, let's get into the cast. We have Malaki Throne as the voice of the Keeper in archived footage. Oh, wait, no, I guess there was also some new dialogue from him, so just as the voice of the Keeper.
Huh.
All right, there's Laurel Goodwin as J.M. Colt, also in archived footage. And Meg Wiley as the Keeper, also in archived footage. I forgot to mention that I'm only doing cast members who weren't in part 1. So yeah, those are the cast members who weren't in part 1.
Okay.
I
almost feel like you shouldn't do the cast members that were in the Cage, too.
You know what? They were in the episode, David.
Oh. Okay.
I guess the Keeper was in the first episode too, though.
So I'll be honest, I actually forgot what episode we were doing until you started talking about it, and I was like,
how did you forget? We did
that...
part 1 we recorded part 1 last time, and we're finishing it this time.
Dude, I forget things.
Okay. Well, now that the cast is out of the way, let's get into the episode.
Personal log, stardate 3013.1. I find it hard to believe the events of the past 24 hours, or the plea of Mr. Spock standing general court-martial.
How do you plead to the charge of unlawfully taking command of this starship? Guilty of sabotaging the computers of this vessel and locking it on course for planet Talos 4. Guilty. And of forcibly attempting to transport Captain Pike to that planet. Guilty.
Why? Why does Spock want to take to that forbidden world his former captain, mutilated by a recent space disaster, now a shell of a man, unable to speak or move? The only answer Spock would give was on the hearing room screen. How Spock could do this, he refused to explain. But there before our eyes, actual images from 13 years ago, of Captain Pike as he was when he commanded this vessel, of Spock in those days, and of how the Enterprise had become the first and only starship to visit Talos 4. They had received a distress signal from that planet and discovered there, still alive after many years, the survivors of a missing vessel, only to find it was all an illusion. No survivors, no encampment. It was all a trap, set by a race of beings who could make a man believe he was seeing anything they wished him to see. And Captain Pike was gone, prisoner for some unknown purpose.
So, what I was thinking is, what if this whole trial would have been done like the Q trial on the Farpoint, on the Farpoint episode and Next Generation? Could you imagine that?
I could, but that wouldn't make sense.
I know it wouldn't, but like it would be hilarious. Like, I could just imagine Spock standing there like Picard, and then Kirk and the other two, Pike and Commodore something or other. I don't remember his name. And they just come out on that little deal that is obviously a crane, but you know. No.
Also, in that trial, didn't Q say this was the period of your history where you said kill all the lawyers?
Probably.
So that wouldn't be a fair trial.
Yeah.
Anyways, once we get past the longest captain's log ever, we open in the hearing room and Kirk says, So what we've been seeing from, and Spock cuts him off answering, Talos 4. Mendez reminds Spock that he knows the rules about contacting Talos 4 and will get the death penalty. Kirk asks Spock if he's lost his mind, and Spock says, Captain, Jim, please, don't stop me. Don't let him stop me. It's your career and Captain Pike's life. You must see the rest of the transmission. And now that I'm reading this, I realize, wait a second, that was just the last scene of part 1. I didn't have to write these notes. The log I did, but the rest I didn't.
Oh, goodness. I give up, everybody.
And then I had a note about how the editing in this scene is weird, but now that I know that it's just part of the last episode, it makes sense.
The editing of this podcast is weird.
Not really.
I'm joking. You do a fine job editing.
So my only note on this teaser is I don't like that it's mainly just a captain's log. I like the captain's log, but I don't like how it's most of the teaser. And now that I know that the rest of the teaser is just footage from last week's episode, I don't like that part of the teaser now.
I mean, honestly, though, this is the first one that's part 1 and 2, right?
Yes.
So
It's the only one that's part 1 and 2.
So, I mean, it would make sense that it would be the captain's log. Because, I mean, they used the captain's log.
Yeah, it's
to
catching
bring
you
you
up
back
on
in. Yeah.
what happened last
Yeah.
week.
Instead of being like, last time on Star Trek.
Which Voyager and Deep Space Nine do?
And Next Gen.
Oh, I guess Next Gen too.
I don't think Deep Space Nine does. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. I think at the beginning.
Because it's usually, like, when they say last time, it's always the computer voice.
Yeah. Troy's mom.
Yeah.
Nurse Chapel.
Number 1.
Number 1. The computer in this one.
The computer in this one. I don't think we get any computer voice in this one.
Yeah.
But in the show.
I mean, we got a computer voice when this first episode.
Yeah, in part 1. We're doing part 2 now, David.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying in this episode, there's no computer voice.
I mean, I can do a computer voice in this episode of our podcast.
I mean, I can too. I did it in the last episode.
Does not compute.
All right. One thing I've noticed is they kind of drop the captain's log in these episodes. The closest thing we get to one in Act 1 is Kirk saying, "The court-martial of Mr. Spock has been convened in closed session. Despite all we can do, images continue to be transmitted to us from Talos 4. Also, I wrote this before going back and doing Acts 2, 3, and 4, and those do have captain's logs, so there are captain's logs in this one.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because, like, I finished those notes today. All right. Mendez tells Spock that Starfleet ordered no contact with Talos 4, and there's no exceptions. Spock says they have no choice. The Keeper took over the screen, and he asks Pike if he understands. Pike says yes. Spock sets up the scene. As you saw before, Captain Pike had been knocked unconscious and captured by the Telosians. Pike wakes up in his cage. He tries elbowing the glass to see if he can break it. The Telosians walk in. Pike does the typical captain thing at first. My name is Christopher Pike, commander of the Space Vehicle Enterprise, from a stellar group at the other end of this galaxy. Our intentions are peaceful. Can you understand me? Pike hears one of the aliens' thoughts. It calls Pike's intelligence shockingly limited. The Keeper says, this is no surprise, since his vessel was baited here so easily with a simulated message. As you can read in its thoughts, it is only now beginning to suspect that the survivors of the encampment were a simple illusion we placed in their minds. Pike's like, I can hear you, but you're not talking. The Keeper's like, note the confusion as it reads our thoughts. Pike's getting angry now. Fine, you have telepathy. Now, unless you want my ship to consider you kidnapping me an unfriendly act, but the Keeper cuts him off.
Oh, I was going to say, to me, Pike is not the brightest bulb in the light.
I feel like he is, but he's also just angry.
I don't know. Like, I feel like I understand why this pilot didn't make it, because he's not a very good captain in this episode.
You're just re-saying stuff you said in episode 1 at this point.
I mean, it's the same episode.
At least they took Pike's sexist stuff out of this episode.
I guess.
They took out that line about women on the bridge.
Yeah. The sad thing is they took out the other aliens too.
Yeah, they did.
I was kind of sad about that.
Except for when the Telosian pretends to be one.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll now see the primitive fear-threat reaction. The specimen is about to boast of his strength, the weaponry of his vessel, and so on. Next, frustrated into a need to display physical prowess, the creature will throw himself against the transparency. And that's exactly what Pike does. 3 times. And Pike's like, wouldn't you test the cage walls if you were in here? The Keeper says, despite its frustration, the creature appears more adaptable than our specimens from other planets. We can soon begin the experiment. And the Telosians leave. The back of their heads look like butts. That's something I noticed while doing this one.
Yeah. You should see the Telosians in the Discovery episodes.
Oh, I've seen it. They call the Keeper Magistrate, which I've never noticed before this viewing.
Huh. I've never noticed that before either.
Yeah. Cut to the briefing room. The cage briefing room, not the Menagerie briefing room, to be clear. Pike's briefing room, not Kirk's briefing room.
This is going to get confusing really fast.
Not really. So we're in the briefing room with number 1, Spock, Boyce, Tyler, Fisher, and Colt. Spock says the planet's surface is too barren to support life, so they probably live underground and manufacture food and everything else they need down there. Number 1 says, so we just thought we saw survivors? And Spock's like, yep, just an illusion. And Boyce says, it was a perfect illusion. They had us seeing just what we wanted to see. Human beings who survived with dignity and bravery. Everything entirely logical. Down to the building of the camp, the tattered clothing, everything. Now let's be sure we understand the danger of this. The inhabitants of this planet can read our minds. They can create illusions out of a person's own thoughts, memories, and experiences. Even out of a person's own desires. Illusions just as real and solid as this tabletop, and just as impossible to ignore. Tyler's like, we gotta help Pike, and Spock in a very condescending way says, if we start buzzing about down there, we're liable to find their mental powers so great they could reach out and swat the ship as though it were a fly. And Tyler points out that the door stood up to hand laders, but they could use the ship's power to blast through it. Enough power to blast half a continent, apparently. My only note on the scene is Boyce foreshadowing exactly what they're going to do to Pike in this episode. Cut to the Telosians watching Pike on a screen. One of them then tells the Keeper that Pike has a great memory. There are thousands probing his mind right now. The Keeper says, I read most strongly a recent death struggle in which it fought to protect its life. We will begin with this, giving the specimen something more interesting to protect. Alright, Pike is then mentally transported to Rigel 7, except now Vena's there, saying they've gotta hide. Pike's like, wait, this is Rigel 7, but I was in a cage. I'm probably still in that cage. They pulled out a memory. This is just like 2 weeks ago. The whole time Vena is pleading with him to hide, she runs off and he's like, but you weren't here last time. Back at Spock's court-martial, Spock says that Pike's deduction was brilliant, but that's not going to help him, and Kirk's like, so they're controlling his mind, and Spock says, and can make him live any place, any time, any situation they wished. He would see, taste, suffer with the same reality as you gentlemen sitting here. Back to Rigel 7, they start to hear loud growling, and Pike's like, you're the one they called Vena, but why didn't they create a different girl? This big warrior walks in, Vena's like, attack him while he's not looking, Pike says, but it's not real, and Vena's like, you gotta kill him, and Pike's like, I ain't no performing animal.
Yeah, he is. He's a performing animal.
It was really late when I wrote this. Alright, and Vena's like, well, it's gonna feel pretty real, and now for a window into my note-taking process. Pike picks up a mace. Warrior swings an axe. Pike hits with his shield. Pike picks up a shield. Warrior swings. Pike hits shield. Warrior hits shield. Warrior hits shield, Pike hits shield. Pike drops shield, picks up spear. Go upstairs, warrior cuts spear in half. Vena hits him with stick. Pike throws chair. Pike swings sword, doesn't work. Pike falls off ledge. Vena screams. Pike throws sword, stabbing warrior in the back. Vena hits him. Warrior jumps down, Pike impales him. And that's my notes on this fight. Normally, I'd turn that into actual notes, but this time I decided, nah, it's late. Alright, they're both back in Pike's cage now. Vena hugs Pike. She stops when she notices the Telosians watching them. They leave. Now we're back at Spock's court-martial. Pike's fallen asleep. Mendez asks why the images stop. Spock says because they know Pike's tired. And Kirk realizes that they care about Pike. Spock answers that they want him back alive. Mendez demands to know why. Spock asks him to be patient, and Mendez says, you're forgetting you're on trial, Spock. You will answer all questions put to you. And Spock responds, my answer to your question would be quite unbelievable, sir. I regret we'll have to wait and see there. Bullcrap. You could explain this.
Yeah.
This isn't too unexplainable.
Right.
And that is the end of Act 1.
Dun dun dun.
Personal log, stardate 3013.2. Reconvening court-martial of Mr. Spock. And the strangest trial evidence ever heard aboard a starship. From the mysterious planet now only 1 hour ahead of us, the story of Captain Pike's imprisonment there.
Why does he keep saying that this is the strangest evidence that he's ever seen?
'Cause it is.
I just disagree with that.
You don't know what evidence he's seen. Probably is. Kirk probably hasn't been to many trials.
Especially with Q
Yeah, Kirk doesn't know Q.
right now.
Nah, Kirk doesn't meet Q.
Yeah, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
Trelane is not Q.
Yeah.
You could argue that he could be a Q,
Yeah.
but I also think that falls apart really easily.
I don't think it's Trelane, but there's another one that could be Q.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
What one?
It's in season 2, I think.
That doesn't answer the question.
It'll be whenever I see the episode, I'll remember.
Okay.
You gotta remember, I've only seen the original series one time until we started watching.
Yeah, me too. I still remember things.
I mean, I remember things. I just don't remember names, episode numbers, seasons, insignia, rank emblems. I just remember red, yellow, and blue.
So the primary colors.
Yeah.
That's all you remember.
Yeah.
They use the primary colors.
Just like Next Generation.
But different because they changed the color.
And then I'm like, I like the Next Generation ones. And then I saw Lower Deck, and I was like, I like the Lower Deck ones. All the other ones are like, eh.
The Lower Deck ones are just Next Generation, but slightly different.
They have that white.
That's why I said slightly different. Okay.
I just didn't like Deep Space Nine's like gray ones.
Yeah, they really just took the Next Generation one and like flipped it.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of it. You know what I really hated? The movie ones.
Okay, which movie ones?
Like the red ones. Where everybody wore red.
Oh, that's a good uniform. That's like a good, like, military style looking uniform.
I didn't know who was what department or anything.
Okay, yeah, the colors I have an issue with because, like, I feel like the colors had less to do with like what department you're in and more like, what does this actor look good in? What color does this actor look good in? Because like gray would be like communications, but also science, but also security, and yellow would be like helm, but also engineering.
You know, even Enterprise did that.
No, Enterprise didn't do that. Enterprise had the primary colors.
They did, but they had the blue jumpsuit.
Well, yeah, because Enterprise, like, they made the uniforms look as close to, like, what uniforms would be now. Like, they tried to make them look like NASA uniforms.
Right. But you could still distinguish, like, what they were.
Yeah, they had the division colors, just, like, not prominent on the uniform, but, like, yeah.
Yeah. And
Enterprise had good uniforms with way too many pockets.
I mean, I'm not downgrading Enterprise at all or putting Enterprise down. I'm just saying, like, they had the whole, like, one standard color, but then everybody had something that actually distinguished what they were.
They had division colors that made sense because it was just the original series colors.
Right. Like, I knew that Trip was an engineer. I knew that Malcolm was security.
Even though those two are the same color. Those were bad examples.
I knew that Toshi was communications.
Hoshi, but okay.
Yeah, whatever. I knew that Phlox was nothing because he had no uniform.
Well, he was the doctor.
And I knew T'Pol was a Vulcan because of her pointed ears.
Okay. We see everyone filing into the hearing room to continue the court-martial and immediately start watching the screen. Pike and Vina are in the cage, and the Telosians leave, and Pike starts questioning Vina. She's still acting like she's an illusion, and Pike's very suspicious of her. Cut to the planet's surface, and number one, Boyce and crew have rigged up a big old laser to take out that door from earlier. They blast it so hard that they have to turn it off before overloading the Enterprise's circuits.
Wait, did you say Boyce?
Yes.
Why is the doctor running a giant
okay,
laser?
there's like a whole crew down there, but like number one and Boyce are both part of the crew down there.
Huh.
If they save Pike, maybe he needs medical attention. It makes sense to have a doctor there.
Okay.
Also, like, they'd have McCoy there. Boyce is just like pre-McCoy.
Yeah, but McCoy would be like telling Spock what he did wrong, even though he had no clue. He'd still be telling him what he did wrong.
Well, Spock's not on the planet.
Yeah, but if McCoy was there, Spock would be the one down there.
Yeah, McCoy's a lot more racist than Boyce. Okay.
Yeah. He'd be like, "Are you doing this right, Spock? Is your Vulcan blood making you do this correct?"
All right. Number one says they should have been able to take it out completely. Boyce says they probably did. They just can't see through the illusion. Back in Pike's cage, Vina finally admits to Pike that she's a real girl. The Keeper walks in and punishes Vina, and Vina vanishes. Pike gets mad, and the Keeper's like, "Good, you care," and leaves.
Where's McCoy from?
I don't know.
Isn't he from like
Somewhere south.
Yeah.
It hasn't been mentioned yet in the episodes we've watched, so I don't know.
Sorry, like the McCoy's whole like not real like being slightly xenophobic to Spock.
I just think he doesn't like Vulcans.
And then him being from the South kind of
fits.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, back at Spock's court-martial, Mendez says, "An Earthwoman, then you were captured as breeding stock." Pike says yes. Kirk says, "Why, just to maintain a supply of zoo specimens?" And Spock answers, much more captain. Back in Pike's cage, the Keeper gives Pike food. Pike throws himself at the glass and surprises him. This is where Pike realizes they can't read through emotions like hate. The Keeper basically sends Pike to hell for a couple of seconds. Then Pike is on a picnic with Vina and his horse Tango. Vina's just trying to have a picnic, but Pike's not playing along. Eventually, Vina realizes this might work better on Pike if they actually use one of Pike's fantasies and not something he's done before. The Telosians see this and boom, Pike's an Orion slave trader and Vina's an Orion slave.
Didn't we do this last episode?
No. Last episode, the cage footage only got to where they knocked Pike out.
Yeah, it's because I had listened to our very first podcast in between this, and that's why I was having flashbacks. I was like, wait, it didn't like I remember you talking about this.
Yeah, in May of last year.
Wow, it's almost been a year.
Yeah,
Man, we need to do something to celebrate our year.
maybe.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about stuff.
Okay.
Not celebrating, but just like ways to like expand.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Back at Spock's court martial, Kirk asks, "That's Vina again." As the Green Orion slave girl, Pike says yes, and Menda says, "They're like animals, vicious, seductive. They say no human male can resist them." And that is the end of Act 2. Now let's wait on that line, because that line's not great. It also does not surprise me that Gene Roddenberry wrote that line.
Never mind.
Yeah, it's not great. That feels kind of racist and sexist. No human man can resist them.
I mean, it's not as bad as when Enterprise first met the Orions.
I feel like it is, though.
Do you remember that episode?
Like, in that episode, at least at the end, like, there's a twist on it where the Orion dude says, yeah, Archer, the women actually control the men. This is their society.
Yeah.
So, like, that's better. They at least, like, flipped it.
Yeah. Tindy.
You just reminded me of Lower Decks. Season 5 is going to be good.
When does it come out?
I don't know. Next thing out is Discovery in April.
Well, I'm glad I reminded you of Lower Decks because that was my point.
Well, yeah, that you literally just said the word tendy.
I know.
Of course you were talking about Lower Decks. There was no point. You just said a character's name.
What's her mistress of the
Mistress of the Winter Constellations?
Yeah.
Strange evidence from the past. How the Telosians, planning to breed a society of human slaves, tempted Captain Pike with the Earth woman they held in captivity. And as she appeared to him in many forms, each more exciting than the last, Pike was beginning to weaken.
I don't know about that line, each more exciting than the last. I feel like you go from like Rigel, which is kind of exciting, then Picnic, I'd say that's less exciting. And then Orion Slave Girl, more exciting. Like, it's dipping and yeah. It's not each more exciting than the last.
The Picnic could be exciting in the right mindset.
Oh yay, I'm married and picnicking in the Mojave, not a desert.
Not as exciting as the Orion area.
Yeah. We see the court watching Vina do her dance. Pike runs away. The door behind him turns into a wall. And Orion slave girl Vina appears behind him. Cut to the transporter room. Pike's transporter room, not Kirk's transporter room. That wasn't even in my notes. That's just funny. That's just a joke I'm going to do now.
I was like, why is Kirk in the transporter room?
The landing party is about to beam directly into the Telosians' underground society. They get on the transporter, but only number 1 and Yeoman Colt beam down, and Spock screams, "The women!
The women!"
That line delivery I still just find hilarious.
Are you putting the clip in, or are you using...
I'm using what we just said. I'm not putting the clip in.
Yes.
And the way he like throws his arms out as he says it. They beam into Pike's cage. Their lasers were fully loaded when they left, but are empty now. The Keeper walks in and says, "Pick one." The women, not the lasers.
I was like, man, they're doing some Kardashian stuff there. They're like, how many lasers? How many lasers?
Later in Pike's cage, everyone is sleeping, but Pike's faking it. The keeper crawls in through a hidden door. Pike pins him to the ground by his neck. He picks up a laser and blasts a hole in the wall, but can't see it. Pike points the laser at the keeper's head and threatens to shoot him. The keeper drops the illusion and they leave. Back at the court-martial, the image is stopped. Mendez says, "It seems the Telosians have deserted you. Gentlemen, a moment, please." "Well, Mr. Spock?" Mendez asks Pike, "May I have your verdict?" And Spock says, "Signal you want them to wait, Captain. Please, it's your life now. At least a chance for life." "You keep talking about life, Mr. Spock. A chance for life how? A prisoner? Caged? A zoo specimen? Living the illusions to amuse his keepers? No, Captain, there's more to it. Watch." "Guilty, yes or no, Captain?" Pike says yes. "I must also vote guilty as charged. And you, Captain?" "Guilty as charged." And that is the end of Act 3.
So wait, did Pike vote?
Yes.
Hey, he said yes,
Yeah, he said guilty.
but he can only say yes or no.
Mendez said guilty, yes or no, and Pike said yes.
Are we sure, or did he just
We are sure.
keep beeping and they just
Nope, there was one beep. One
Okay.
single solitary beep.
Okay. Beep. Beep.
All right. We open on the bridge. Hansen calls Mendez to tell him that they're in Talos 4's orbit. Spock says, "Talos controls the vessel now, sir, as they did 13 years ago. You've asked me why. You'll see the answer now." On the planet's surface, we see they actually did blow the crap out of that rock. The keeper's like, "We have you right where we want you. Now pick a girl and you'll live your slave lives." Number 1 sets her laser to blow up and says they'd rather die than live as slaves. The other Telosians show up and says, "Yeah, the records say they hate slavery." And the keeper's like, "Okay, you can go."
You know, I said it the first time we did the cage, and I'm gonna say it again. I love it whenever they're going back up in the elevator, and
The rickety elevator on the cardboard set.
and it's doing like the shim shim.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Number 1 and Colt beam into the transporter room. On the planet, Vina tells Pike she can't go with them. The keeper lifts the illusion and Pike sees that Vina's deformed. Pike beams up to the ship, goes to the bridge, and they warp out of there. Back to the court-martial. Kirk's about to say something to Mendez, but he disappears. Whoa, Mendez was an illusion the whole time.
That kind of freaked me out. I'm not gonna lie.
That he disappeared.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, the Thelosians. But then it makes you think, how far does their mind control deal work?
I mean, it made it all the way to Starbase 11.
Which was 6 days away at maximum warp.
Yep.
Which is what, like warp 5?
Actually, it probably goes farther than that, because if you remember in Discovery, there's a point where where Vina communicates with Pike, but Pike's on the Discovery.
Yeah, but they were only like 3 hours away.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trust me, I watched that.
That's why I'm trusting you. I know you recently watched it.
Yeah. So, what if the Thelosians were actually doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work in Starfleet?
Yeah. Just the Telosians manipulating everything in the galaxy.
Yeah.
The Telosians were really the Borg.
I wonder what would happen. I wonder how they reacted when the Dominion started attacking everyone.
I don't think they cared.
Yeah.
Or they might be dead by that point. Because, at the end of this episode, they're like, or at the end of the cage, they're like, "Yeah, you're our last hope. We're all just going to die now." Then Kirk hears the keeper. "What you now seem to hear, Captain Kirk, are my thought transmissions. The Commodore was never aboard your vessel. His presence there and in the shuttlecraft was an illusion. Mr. Spock had related to us your strength of will. It was thought the fiction of a court-martial would divert you from too soon regaining control of your vessel. Captain Pike is welcome to spend the rest of his life with us, unfettered by his physical body. The decision is yours and his." So basically, they're like, Kirk's too good at being a captain, so he's gonna get his ship back. So we gotta fake a court-martial so he doesn't get his ship back.
I mean, they're not wrong.
They're not wrong.
Kirk would have gotten his ship back.
Yeah.
Or would have died trying.
Kirk's like, Spock, you could have just talked to me. And Spock says he couldn't ask Kirk to take the death penalty too. Uhura calls in, message from Starbase 11, sir. Received images from Talos 4. In view of historic importance of Captain Pike in space exploration, General Order 7 prohibiting contact Talos 4 is suspended this occasion. No action contemplated against Spock. Proceed as you think best. Signed, Mendez, J.I., Commodore, Starbase 11. So Kirk and Spock are just off the hook now.
Was that the real Commodore sending that, or was that
At
Talos?
first, I thought it was an illusion, but on my second viewing, I was like, okay, no. So they also sent Mendez the images they were sending the Enterprise. So Mendez gets what's going on. So that's real Mendez.
Oh, okay.
Kirk asks Pike if he wants to go. Pike says yes. Kirk asks Spock to take Pike to the transporter room. Spock says thank you, and Pike says yes.
Mr. Spock, when you're finished, please come back and see me. I want to talk to you. This regrettable tendency you've been showing lately towards flagrant emotionalism.
I see no reason to insult me, sir. I believe I've been completely logical about the whole affair.
End clip.
You know what I don't get?
What?
I mean, you'll probably talk about it in a second, but they go to the transporter room, and 5 seconds later, you see Pike on the planet.
Yep.
Like, there was no time for him to go even to the transporter room, let alone to the planet.
Yeah. So yeah, Spock and Pike leave, then Kirk sees Pike and Vina on the planet, and then hears the Keeper say, Captain Kirk, Captain Pike has an illusion, and you have reality. May you find your way as pleasant. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. Kirk dies old and alone.
How does Kirk die?
In Generations, they're fighting Soren, and a bridge collapses, and Kirk dies. It's not a great death.
Does he die?
Yeah.
Huh.
He dies. Picard buries him. Years later, we see his body in a space station on Picard Season 3.
Yeah, I knew that. Huh. And he gave up a life of... I mean, pretty much the same
A life
thing.
of cutting wood.
The same thing the Thelosians is pretty much offering.
Yeah, except, like, Pike had a girl.
Yeah, but he could have mustered up a girl if he wanted.
Yeah,
to.
it wouldn't have been real, though. Pike has a real girl. All right. Any more thoughts on this episode?
I have some thoughts, but I'm not going to put them to Mike.
Yeah, I basically, I got all my thoughts out in part 1.
I don't know.
It was a cool way to reuse footage they couldn't use.
Right. And I mean, I know that we've already done the cage, but in the 60s, they hadn't seen the cage.
Yeah, so like back then, this would be like their first experience of seeing this.
Right. So I get it. But
Yeah.
to me, it's kind of like, now it's kind of like, you're redoing that episode.
I feel like the first time I ever watched the original series all the way through, I started with the cage, and then when I got to the Menagerie, I just fast forwarded through all the cage parts and just watched the new stuff.
I think I just skipped it altogether. The Menageries.
Yeah.
I think I skipped a lot of episodes, honestly.
All right. Join us next week for Shore Leave. You can find me everywhere at Couch Talks Movies. David, tell the people where they can find you.
Wait, we're taking a shore leave next week?
Yes.
Where are we going?
I don't know. I don't know what that planet's called. I haven't watched the episode yet.
I want to go to Riza.
Okay.
Let's go to Riza.
Yeah, that's not a thing till Next Generation.
But we're not inviting Worf. Let's see. You can find me at TikTok at Commodore Moss. And for the Bailey scale,
I forgot this was a thing.
episode 2 of the Menagerie, on a scale between 1 and 10 Baileys, 1 being the best, 10 being the worst, I will give this a 3.
I'll accept that because this is mostly just the cage footage.
Yeah, that's why I give it a 3. I would give it a 2, but the whole Pike being on the planet like 5 seconds after he left Kirk's office just really threw me, and I couldn't get over that. I had a nightmare about it the other day.
Sure you did. All right. You can find the show at Tomorrow Trek Pod on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and at patreon.com/tomorrowisyesterday. And don't forget to check out our stuff on the Couch Podcast Network store at couchtheaters.com. It's a long story.
Hopefully we'll be adding some stuff to it eventually. I bought a hat off of there. It's pretty cool.
I haven't seen that hat. I want to see the hat.
I'll show it to you after this episode.
Okay. Well, if we come up with more ideas, we'll add stuff to it.
I have an idea.
Okay.
I'm going to do the Bailey scale.
No.
Yep.
No.
It'll look good. I'll make up the design and show you.
All right. And until next time,
Live long and Vulcan Neck Pinch Part 2.